Hi guys, today we're taking a look at the ClubSport Handbrake version 1.5 from Fanatec. Details are in the description below, including purchasing links. So we'll be testing this out on the Fanatec CSL DD, and we'll also try it out with the Logitech wheels I have, as you can get this adapter to make it work with other racing wheels. And hopefully it will give you an idea if the handbrake's worth getting for your sim racing setup. So let's begin by opening it up and taking a look at what you get in the packaging. Before we begin, if you're new to the channel, I hope you can support me by subscribing and hitting the bell icon to get notified of my next release. In the packaging, you get a quick start guide, which is multi-language. You get an adapter, which is used to plug into the wheelbase, and the other end you'd connect your pedals and handbrake into. You get a cable where one end has a 3.5mm jack on there, and the other end is an RJ12 connector. You get another cable where there's a 3.5mm jack together with a connector on the end. And finally, the handbrake. So build of this is really good. Solid metal casing over here, together with a handle being made of metal. Coming onto the end there, you can see some plastic either side there, and soft padding on the handle itself. Feels really nice and comfortable. And then coming underneath, you can see the points where you can mount it onto your sim cockpit. Looking on the back, you've got the connection point for the 3.5mm connector. There's a good amount of tension behind this. Just pulling it up feels really good. And briefly looking at the ClubSport USB adapter. So this is the only thing you get in the packaging. You've got a plastic case here, RJ12 connector point, and a USB-A connection, and a short cable in between. Installation wise, there's a number of different methods in installing this. You can mount it directly onto a sim frame like this. There are some adapters that go with this as well, and it can also be mounted on the side of a ClubSport shifter. Fanatec's own YouTube page has details on this. Now the lever itself can be changed in terms of positioning. So the way I'm going to mount this, I'm going to mount this block directly onto my sim frame, but I'm going to adjust the lever so it's facing upwards. So in actual fact, I want it in this sort of position where I can pull back on it. Now, very simple to open this up. All you need is an Allen key. The 3 screws have been removed now. Taking the plate off reveals the mechanism for this. And now we just need to remove the 2 screws over here, and there's a nut on this side. Once loosened, you can just remove the screws by hand. And the lever's removed then. Now the position can be flipped from this way to this way. Just marry up the holes and then put the screw and nuts back into position. I've tightened up the screw and the nut off camera, just easier to do as the camera's in the way here. And let's put the casing back on there. And there we have it now. If I can show it in action, there you go. So it'll be attached via the base. You can just pull it to action it. Now I'll be installing the handbrake on my sim cockpit from Track Racer. I'll be installing the handbrake in place of the shifter for now. So I've removed this already, and I've got some screws that came with a sim cockpit, and I put some washers on there, and I just need to line it up into position, and we'll just screw it down. Handbrake's firmly in position now, and just to show, feels good. The cable I'll be using to connect this up is the 3.5mm jack to RJ12, and that end connects straight into the back of the handbrake. Coming around the back of my wheelbase for the CSL DD, get this connected up very easy. Take the power out, and then that reveals the point where the pedals are. That's connected here. Then we take the adapter, plug that in, and then on the adapter you've got the pedals connection point, and then finally you've got the handbrake connection point. And it's as simple as that. Drop this through here so it's nice and tidy, plugging that in, and that's it. It's all set up now. I've tidied up all the cables going around as well, so there's nothing hanging off there. Positioning wise, I don't think it's that great, only because it's hanging quite a lot to the front, so it'll be a bit of a stretch grabbing it. Now coming over to my PC, what I've done, I've plugged in the handbrake with the USB adapter, just to show you what appears on your PC with that. So in the Fanatec control panel, you don't see anything in addition appear. You can see the detected devices and it doesn't appear in the list. Now going over to firmware update, opening up the firmware manager, you don't even see it in there either. So now closing this down, if I go to control panel, this is where you see it. The wheel at the moment is in club sport mode, which is when the light on the wheelbase is amber, and you can see the wheelbase just over here. And if we come over on this side, you can see Fanatec ClubSport USB Adapter. So it's picking up the adapter. Now, if I flip over to PC mode, USB adapter still there, and you see the Fanatec wheel slightly differently. And now going back to the Fanatec control panel, you still don't see the handbrake appear. So this is normal, no issues here. I just wanted to show what you'd see when you have the USB adapter plugged in. Now, I flipped over to using the adapter that comes with the handbrake, and this is where you'd plug in both the handbrake and the pedals, and then that adapter gets plugged into the wheelbase. And same results with this. You don't see anything in addition in the Fanatec control panel. Still the same items are visible. And going to the firmware update, firmware manager, same thing again, nothing's visible there. Looking in control panel, this time you only see the Fanatec wheel icon, just looking like a gaming controller, and that's it. Now, if you're going to be using the handbrake on different devices, for instance, a Logitech wheel, that's the situation where you'd use the USB adapter. If you've got a Fanatec wheelbase, then there's no need to buy that adapter. Now, I've started up Forza Horizon 5. Now, if I just start driving in here and try out the handbrake, by default, nothing happens with this. So for this, what you have to do, you have to remap the controls on this. So now if I go into settings, controls, change input mapping, wheel, and then you can see it here, e-brake, we just select our profile, and now we just pull on the handbrake, and there you go, it's assigned now, and it appears as device 1, axis 7. Next, we just come out of this, save the settings, and then testing this out, pull on the handbrake, you can see that now. I'll accelerate, nothing happens, slowly coming off it. It's not moving until I come off at that point. Feels pretty good. Let's test this out. So if I accelerate and now pull on the handbrake, there you go. Pretty cool, works well and has a good feel to it. Let's try that again. Now the same functionality applies whether you're using the USB adapter or not. You still have to remap it in the app. Now coming over to my Xbox, I accelerate, hold on to handbrake, nothing happens. So let's have a look in settings again. And then looking in controls, change input mapping, going over to wheel. If I select e-brake, and now it says to press the key we wish to map to the e-brake. So if I pull on the handbrake, nothing happens. So unfortunately, the handbrake doesn't work on Forza Horizon 5. Now coming over to Forza Horizon 4 and looking in the e-brake setting, you can see nothing's been changed. I've left as is, so it's selected as B button. If I now come out, and now if I hold on to the handbrake and speed up, it works by default on Forza Horizon 4. So good to see it in action and just to test it. There you go. Works well. Let's test out the handbrake with Dirt 5. So if I accelerate, hold on to the handbrake, there you go, not going anywhere, let go. There you go. Working well. And again, with this one, I didn't have to make any sort of changes to the settings. Now I've connected up my Logitech G923 to my PC. The same applies for the G29 and G920. So you just connect up the wheel as normal and you connect the handbrake via the USB adapter. Now coming over to the Fanatec control panel, again, you can't see anything in there. And then going into control panel, you can see the Fanatec ClubSport USB adapter in there. What you'll have to do is download the ClubSport USB adapter driver. And once installed, you'll see a shortcut, Fanatec wheel property page. Going into that, you can see the USB adapter, and then going into properties allows you to see the handbrake together with seeing the pressure being applied to it. You're also able to perform firmware updates via this. And again, in Forza Horizon 5, e-brake has to be assigned. So I've already assigned that. Now testing this out, if I hold on to the handbrake, accelerate, there you go, not going anywhere. If I release, Car starts moving. So it works on a PC. So excellent seeing that. So you can make use of this if you did have one of the Logitech wheels. And just to show, works really well. Now coming over to my Xbox Series X, I've plugged in the Logitech G923 and I've also plugged in the Handbrake via the USB adapter. Now, I've tried it on a couple of games, but just as an example, we've got Forza Horizon 4 here. If I select e-brake, try mapping it, nothing happens. So the Handbrake really is only compatible with the Logitech wheels on a PC. But as you've seen, you can also use it with the CSL DD on an Xbox. So probably more flexibility available with the CSL DD, but it's good to know if you're a PC user, you can use it with other wheels on your PC. So in summary, I'm really impressed with the Fanatec ClubSport Handbrake version 1.5. Great build quality and works well with the Fanatec CSL DD on both a PC and Xbox. And you're not just limited to using this with Fanatec products. As I've shown, you can get the ClubSport USB adapter and it can work in theory on any wheel on a PC. And I demonstrated this on my Logitech racing wheel. Negatives wise, it's a shame you can't use it on a console with wheels other than Fanatec's ones. And price wise, it's not the cheapest option, but nevertheless, a great handbrake. So there you have it. You made it to the end of another video and I hope it's helped anyone thinking of purchasing this. Details are in the description below, including purchasing links. If you're new to the channel, hope you can support me by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon to get notified of my next release. Thanks for viewing and see you in the next one.